We are live and recording is on. Okay, so recording is good. Everything started. Let's get started, guys. So today, what are we going to discuss? Practical topics. Nice to see you guys. Let's get started for today. Hello, everybody. Please focus. And like we discussed yesterday, please don't lie down on your sofa. Just sit right and then focus on the topics. Okay. So what are we going to discuss today, guys? As part of today, our major focus will be week 7, day number 3. Okay, yes, and as part of today we will be doing multiple things. Initially we will start with working with AWS. Earlier we have discussed how to work with EC2, nothing but on the EC2 setting up our Java application, deploying our Spring Boot application, starting the service. So that kind of thing we have already done the setup. So we will just be connecting to that setup and trying to utilize it. Okay, that is what it is. So first step we will be working with EC2. We will not set it up freshly, but today we will work with EC2. However, from setup and working perspective, we will work with AWS Secrets Manager and RDS service. RDS service is for relational database system or relational database service. So for setting up our MySQL, we are going to have the demonstration. So initially we will start with this and then we will move with some other topic. Okay, so chalo, let's get started. We already know how our approach will be, right? An AWS environment approach. We do our coding in our local machine into IDE. Okay, next, whatever application we are building, those services, those Spring Boot application, we need to deploy in some EC2 machine which is running inside our AWS infrastructure. Okay, so we have AWS infrastructure. In that one, now we need to have one EC2 machine, and on this machine we will deploy our services. Okay, for example, our two major services are payment processing service, and PayPal provider service. So we already know that how to build this using our Maven command, package -p, right? Package -p, and if you are building for dev environment using the profile concept, we can simply build the corresponding jar files. So using this command, we will have the jar files prepared. Okay, for processing service also, provider service also, and these jar files will be deployed into this environment, into this EC2 machine, and using those commands that we discussed last time, we will bring it up and running. Okay, another thing, when we are working with the local machine, these projects are into our IDE and we are starting it here, then it connects to our local machine database. So we have MySQL in our local machine, and using DBEver, we are able to connect to it, do our installation, and then our application connects to it using our Spring Boot JDBC code, right? So locally, we have our database also in local, Java services are also in local. However, when you deploy this code in AWS EC2 machine, we need to have the database also in the EC2 database also in the AWS environment. Okay, so assume this everything is dev AWS environment. So similarly, QA environment will be separate set of machines running for QA, same for UAT, same for prod. So we are focusing on dev environment. Locally, you have these jar files. You set up a EC2 machine. On this, you will run your Spring Boot applications. So let's say we have deployed both the processing and provider, PayPal provider here. Next, when these services are executing, they want to connect to the database. So in the AWS environment, we will be having again one database installed. And yes, that's going to be a MySQL DB. Okay, MySQL. But they could try to understand one very good point here. Why AWS is so popular and so widely used, and all these even other cloud providers, why they are widely used, cloud platforms, why they kicked up. One of the main thing is they offer lot of services which do lot of configurations and gives a lot of features for the technical developers. Means you don't have to develop many features. AWS by default just gives you that. Okay, for example, if you want to set up MySQL in AWS, you can again take a new EC2 machine. On the EC2 machine, you can run all the commands and set up MySQL. But in that case, you have to write a lot of other additional scripts, like optimizing, tuning the parameters of the MySQL. Okay, whoever are more into the database field, generally there will be a designation called as DBA, database administrator. These guys know much more. Their primary skill is to work with the database administrators. Whenever a database is set up, a lot of performance tuning is required. The default configurations are not enough for getting started for application. Okay, yeah, they have to define the processing speed, how many concurrent threads will be there, how many max number of connections can be applied, what is going to be the backup related frequency, how master and slave related setup will be there. Means these are some very important configuration which needs to be applied with every database. And if you install a MySQL, if you install a EC2 machine and on that install MySQL, all of these configurations needs to be taken care manually. So for that you need expertise. The people who are really good in those things, they should come do the setup, and it is quite some challenge and time waste also. So what AWS is saying is, okay, I will give you a service itself called as RDS for setting up any data relational database. So let's say you want to set up Oracle also, or PL SQL as well. Okay, for all of these things, Postgres basically, right? Postgres, MySQL, SQL Server, all these are relational databases. So what they said is, AWS is saying, we will give you a service called as RDS. Using this service, you can set up any relational database. And whatever majority of the configurations, tunings are required, RDS will do it by default. Okay, and not just the regular configurations. We know that we discussed, I think, few weeks ago this topic. Database is very important aspect of any project. Always data should be backed up. Data cannot be lost. Even when disaster happens, your data should be available like that also. So systems like AWS is providing real-time backup of this without any configuration. By default, it is available. And just with a few clicks, you can have multiple copies of this, which will be spread across the globe, so that even if some problem happens, it is still recoverable, right? So it is very easy to set up this kind of disaster recovery and backups about all this database. Plus tuning is also very important. And that is the reason, rather than manually setting up a MySQL and working with it, it is good to use this kind of a predefined service of AWS RDS. Again, developer life is very much simple. Too much of customization is not required to be done to MySQL also. Even some developers, senior developers, without even support of DBAs, can now set up RDS and work with it easily, right? So this is one of the major advantage of going ahead with these services rather than just working with the database itself, right? So let's make a quick note about this. And that is what, it's very easy. So when the life of developer is easy, so more adoption will happen, more people will start using it, right? So please understand, when we deploy our Spring Boot services in dev AWS environment, then we need to connect with DevDB for our database activities. Okay. Next point, we are using MySQL. So one approach could be, in AWS, set up MySQL manually on some EC2 machine and manage end to end. Okay. However, this approach needs core technical knowledge of working with MySQL, and some DBAs might be needed for doing the setup, for setup activities. Okay. Next, what AWS team has done is, AWS is providing, okay, nice ready-made services of RDS for setting up any relational DB. Okay. Majority of tuning for prod ready application is already done in RDS. Okay. Next, strong backup and high availability, means system will be available, backups will be there, are offered by default. You don't have to do much, just maybe a checkbox, you get all that capability. Okay. Also, easy to set up disaster recovery systems. So even though they might charge a bit more, companies are okay to pay that, because the value of services are pretty huge and they don't want to risk it by manually doing all that work, right? So that is the reason today we will be doing the setup of RDS. So we need to deploy our projects, our microservices in EC2 machine, and then make the changes so that they can connect with this RDS and perform the required operations. Okay? This is what is the first aim of this. Now, another service also we will be discussing today, and that is Secrets Manager. We will do it one by one, okay? Not both together, but initially just giving the overview of what this other service is. Okay, Secrets Manager. Let's spend a few minutes understanding this concept. Dekho guys, core clarity should be there, why something is required also. Okay, not just how to work with it, but why we do something in this certain manner. You should have that clarity, why we are doing what we are doing and purpose of these things, and then you have to further analyze on that. Is there a better way, how we can further improve it? Because dekho guys, industry will always improve, new and better solutions will always come. So you have to keep exploring and keep an open mind to whatever you see. Okay, don't become rigid. Okay, this is what I know and this is the only way to do it. No, market will change after 6 months. You have to see what new things are happening, and that is expected from software developers, to keep an open mind and adapt to new changes as the world is improving further. Okay, always keep that habit. Fine. So what is this Secrets Manager? There go. Few very important things. If you go to our projects property file, okay, whether it is processing service, whether it is provider service, let's have a look here. Secret Manager. The purpose of Secret Manager is to manage secrets. Secret means sensitive information, something which should not be shared, secret information, right? So you have to look back in your code, what is some very sensitive information which should not be shared with other people. For example, database password is kind of that secret information, sensitive information. If somebody has access to the database password, they can just get into the database and now do some operations on the DB, which is very risky. Okay, anything sensitive, anything which is secret in nature should not be maintained in your project source code. That is what we are talking about. Okay, any sensitive information should not be maintained in project source code. For example, DB password. Not just DB password. If you go to this another property file of provider service, okay, and if you check it out here, that in provider service also we have PayPal client ID and client secret. Now it completely depends on you. Okay, do you consider even client ID as the secret? Some people might say yes, some might say not, but depends. If you feel that this is also secret information, we don't want to reveal it to people, that means this and this, both of the values should be kept inside somewhere else, not in your project code, because it is sensitive in nature. Okay, just imagine if a developer gets access to the client ID and client secret of PayPal production environment. What if they start making some payments there, not via the system, also from outside? That becomes a risk. Next, for the production system, now we need API key also, right? If you are implementing Spring AI module, you would need to set up open API key. Again, sensitive information, because you know, right, API keys and all, there are charges for that. What if somebody goes and accesses the production API key, which will be setting up by the client, and you say, I will use this for all my regular testing also? Again, it's a breach. You are doing your testing, but charging and billing is happening to those people. So try to imagine, this secret information is so important that even developers should not have access to it. Outside people ko to definitely no, but even internal developers should not have access to this. What if production may there is lot of data, and the developer gets access to the production password, connects to that? What if that person does some damage to it? Okay, there was this very bad case which happened in near our IT hub. Okay, so while we were working, one day we were down for a tea, and we saw a police came, and they had this handcuff on one of software engineer, and they were putting him inside that police van and going. Later on, we were like, what happened? What happened? What is all this going on? Later, it was came to light that person stole some data from production. A real world theft is one. Even this is nothing but cyber crime, right? Which has serious consequences in real life. So that's what it is. We later realized, just the word flows around, so it came to our ears, that guy used the production related access, logged into the production database, and some of the customer information downloaded in his laptop and shared it with a competitor. And he might have got some reward and all for that, but company tracked all that information. Please be aware, high level of monitoring will be there in company softwares. The laptops which you use of the office, it is possible to track every single letter that you type there. Okay? Keyboard level tracking is also possible to do. What websites you are accessing, that kind of tracking is also possible to do. So don't try to do anything on the company's laptop, knowingly or unknowingly also. Everything is monitored. Likewise, whatever you do with AWS and everything, that is also monitored. So it depends company to company, what level of seriousness they can put into monitoring, but you don't know. It's not even discussed with you to what level the monitoring is. IT support team will keep installing patches and updates and continuously monitor all these actions. And not just monitoring, there are alerts behind the screen. If you try to breach certain security, immediately an email alert goes to your senior manager, to you, by the IT support team. So and so guy is trying to access this kind of a request, which he does not have authority to. Please justify why it is required. And then the manager gets involved, you get involved, and they directly call you, okay, tell us the purpose why you are doing all these activities. And anything risky for the project, serious actions will be taken, leading to termination, fines, whatever, depending upon what damage you are trying to cause to the system. Okay? So companies are protected by that manner so that accidental things should not happen. But try to really understand. You have to build a project. Your aim should be, as a proper responsible IT professional, your aim should be to build a system which you also cannot break. Okay. So as a manager, my aim is also going to be like that. Okay, I should build a system. Okay, even if I want to break, I should not be able to break it. Matlab, security wise, access wise, you cannot do any damage to the system. We need to build that kind of system. That means we are doing our job properly. So if we start putting these credentials as part of your property files and all, it is very easily possible to break, because all this stays in your source code. Source code is committed into your Git. Not just you, your rest of the team members can also see. And you never know, what if somebody is resigning and then goes outside, and then before going gets access to these information, and then from external tries to do the damage, right? Risks are n number of risks. We don't know what can happen. Definitely there will be consequences coming for all these things, because some investigation will come from which IP, what was accessed, who accessed, some digging will happen. But why to get into all that later on mess? Try to develop upfront better secured systems. So even if the developers wants to damage it, they should not be able to do that. For that reason, sensitive information, one of the discipline is sensitive information should not be in your source code. It should be kept outside. Okay, guys, are we clear with the problem here? Are we clear with the problem here, guys? Problem can be happening if you give the password in the code itself. Developer knowingly or unknowingly can do the damage. So which we should never allow as a responsible software engineer. Okay, good. Now comes the next point. So we are not supposed to keep sensitive information in our Java source code. This one. What are the examples of sensitive information? We saw certain examples, like database password is one of the example. Next, PayPal client ID and client secret, another example. Next, open API key. Anything else which you find is sensitive, which should not be there in the source code, all of that will be eligible for this information. Okay. So if you cannot keep it in project source code, means you cannot commit it and you cannot put it in Git and other places, where should you keep it? Okay. So guys, there are multiple solutions here. So lot of secured platforms are there. In GitHub also you can keep it into secured repository, which your project can go and get it. Plus there are some paid softwares also available in real world which can be done for this. And generally people go for paid services for this, because what if the people who are storing your credentials, if from their software side they leak it? So this is very sensitive information. We cannot give it to freeloaders. Okay, by free service we are giving and compromising on the security. People will not go for that. And for that reason, one of a good discipline practice, which majority of our projects are following, and we see have many people use, is AWS is providing. It's a paid service. For every information that you store, AWS charges per information level. However, they give an assurance that the data is safe and we can rely on AWS claim. Because if something goes wrong with AWS and if our data is leaked by those guys, huge big cases with huge penalties will be filed on AWS, and really they will have to pay the money because security cannot be compromised, right? So yeah, so it's better to trust people by paying the services so that they hold themselves accountable. That is the model. And for that, AWS is providing secrets manager service. Yes, it is paid. For every field that you store there, for that they are going to do some charges. Not sure for the field tire also they are paying a charging or not, but otherwise yes, they definitely have some charges. Now, sensitive information since our project is running in AWS, we can take the advantage of this one itself. Okay, so we will use AWS Secrets Manager for storing sensitive information. Now it comes like we need to do the setup in AWS Secret Manager, plus even Java code needs to be changed to make it happen. You can imagine, right? Currently in your code, all of these properties are within your project itself. Spring Boot application is able to read it very properly. But if we move this outside your project somewhere, then again, your Spring Boot application should have the capability to connect to that outside place and read the values from there. So we need to be aware. Two things are there. First, we need to check how to do setup of this AWS Secret Manager for storing our sensitive information. Second thing is, as our properties are moving outside our project or Spring Boot app, so we need to make application side changes to connect to AWS Secret Manager and read the properties from there. Dekho, source code needs it. We cannot store it here, but your project Java code needs this. Otherwise, how can you call PayPal system? So for that reason, there has to be application side changes to connect to this AWS Secret Manager and read the changes from there. So both these two things we are supposed to do. Okay. So now accordingly, we will be getting started with our code changes. Okay. Now so one by one we will do. First we will work with the RDS. End to end we will do the testing with that. Once it is done, after that we will move to later Secrets Manager. Okay. One by one we will do the setup. Now, before starting with RDS, we have done some changes to current microservices that we have. Okay. For example, yesterday we were doing some testing with service registry related concept. So for now, I have temporarily turned it off so that I don't have to now deploy even Eureka service on AWS and then test with regards to that. Okay. So currently what I have done is, in my local machine, made this modification that again go back to our previous way of running the application directly via the endpoint, not having Eureka in place. So already in the current code, I have made those modifications. What are the modifications? Just whatever changes we applied, just commented those changes back again. Okay. For example, this is processing service. In pom.xml, I simply commented the Netflix Eureka client. Second, in our main application also commented enable discovery client. Next, in the local properties, made some changes. Okay. What are the changes? Just I can explain it more nicely here. Local changes. Nothing but yesterday for making this service registry change, we changed this URLs to start directly with the path. So I just commented that one out and then enabled our previous one, which just connects directly based upon destination service details itself. And if you scroll down, Eureka configuration is again commented. Okay. So nothing but turned off the Eureka service registry feature. So we can continue back with the earlier approach itself. That is what are the changes applied in processing service. One more thing I have done, because this code I will be sharing it with you guys also to zip. So just keep a focus there. Our HTTP service engine that we had, HTTP service engine. Okay. I just created a copy of that with yesterday's code, HTTP service engine SR. Just for your reference for future purpose, okay, how to work with this, and if you want to uncomment and use it at your side, you can play around with the code. So I just created a copy of this and named it SR, service registry related, where our yesterday's code is available, load balancer client, and using that and then doing a choose. But yes, I have not made it as a component. So this is only created but not used in the system. Okay. So this Java code is there only for your reference. I added here commenting this since we want to use engine instead, which directly makes without service registry. So again, just be aware, this is only kept here for reference purpose, not being used. So we have commented this temporary. However, in this engine, it is our previous code itself. Directly use the client, and using it directly make REST client call, and it reads the proper keys from the property file. So these are the changes. So let me just put a quick note. And similar changes we did in the PayPal provider also. Okay, so without service registry operate, same changes we did for PayPal provider also. Pom.xml, okay, Eureka client is disabled. Here also disabled annotation. Properties file also, Eureka related things are commented out. Okay. So if you are interested to enable it back again, you have to go to the code and make the needed changes. Okay. Guys, also be aware, for our testing, we have done this also. Recon service, cron is turned off. Next, transaction DAO IMPL. In this one, here also we have done a temporary that don't update DB, so that we can do more rigorous testing. Otherwise, every time we have to create a new payment, then that is pretty time consuming activity. So please be aware, these are temporary hacks. It might be possible in some of the zips that I will share with you, these hacks will be there. So you have to, if you're testing the full system, you have to really connect and remove these things. So you have to now play around with it. When you want to do Eureka based testing, and if you are using this code directly, you need to work at your side, think and make the changes, because now the project is very customizable. Depending upon your requirement, if you want to go with this, use it like this, turn it off like that, add the dependencies. For working with DB updates, you have to remove this. So please be aware. Okay, please be aware, because the code is now, yes, very much open for your whatever features you want to build it further into. Okay, fine. Okay, so these are the changes. We applied these changes in this also. So that's the first conclusion. Okay. Our current microservices, or in our current microservices, we have turned off Eureka service registry changes. Okay, so with simple setup, we can continue further AWS deployment and other things, and local testing and everything. Okay, later on, if you want to enable, you can find it. Okay, the code for Eureka is available in project, however commented. So check carefully and enable. Anyways, you should do the coding at your side in your projects. Have this for your reference purpose, but be careful about it. Okay, so be careful and enable it if you want to use that. So this is our two changes. Okay, before we really deploy on AWS and other thing, we will do one round of testing and then we will go forward with it. So let's bring these services up. This is the processing service. Right click, run as, build, clean, package. Now again, choice, right? Are you guys expected to set up these things in AWS? It completely depends. It is optional. Okay, so even if you are not setting, the way Spring AI we kept, okay, it is optional for you guys. If you are interested to do the setup, do the setup. If not, ignore it. right? Similarly, AWS wise also, if you want to set up, if you can put some credit card in there and uh, do one round of testing with that, okay, then you can go ahead. If you are thinking, no, why to get into all this, then don't need to do the setup. Just watch the recording, and you can still put these things in your resume and then explain during interview time, this is how we did it. But for that, you should watch the recording very closely and at least practice at your side, even without coding it technically. Okay, so take the advantage of it in your interview time, resume time. But whether to practice or not, yes, it's completely your choice if you find it feasible. Okay, so chalo, processing service is done. Now we'll start it. Right click, run as Spring Boot app. Next. Okay, 8082, this is up. Next, right click, clean package. Okay. Okay, done. Let's start the application. Right click, run as Spring Boot app. Okay, done. Let's go to our Postman. Recon is our process. Let's just make one call. Processing service. Our async task was created. It did all of this call handling, and yes, it's working. So that means current services are working in local. That's the conclusion. So turning Eureka off, rest of the system is stable and we can do the testing with that. So that is what it is. Okay. So in our current microservice, we turned off Eureka, and okay, one round of testing working in local. Okay, guys, now what will be our first step? We will be doing we need EC2 machine, we need RDS. Next, in the RDS, we have to execute our database scripts, whatever DDL, DML we had. So that kind of database setup needs to be done in our RDS also. So step number one, we need an EC2 machine. Step number two, we need RDS machine. In the RDS machine, database scripts needs to be done. Next, in the EC2 machine, Java should be installed, and then these two jars should be built using dev profile and deployed it here. And then this guy should be able to talk to this RDS. So a lot of changes needs to be done step by step. Okay. Now, as part of the previous weeks, we already have taken one topic about how to set up EC2. So we are not going to again do that setup. Okay. So you can refer to that topic of that day, and same process, you have to create EC2 and it is going to be available. For our today testing, already I have the EC2 ready in our AWS environment. So we will work with that and then continue with the rest of the activity. Okay. However, just like earlier document, we even have the document now, so we can quickly high level go through it, at least theoretically, the steps, what you need to do for EC2 creation. It's just going to be a reminder, a kind of recap. In 5 minutes or few minutes, we can finish it. Okay. So in AWS, this kind of document we will be sharing with you guys today by the end of the today's topic also. Setting up EC2. We need to go to the AWS console first. Okay. Next, again, last time when we said okay, it is optional, still there were guys coming, should I do it? It's up to you. If you can put a credit card in there, test it out, know the risk. Okay, if you don't delete it, some charges might be incurred by AWS. So knowing the risk when you are doing it, so yeah, please think about it carefully. Okay. Basic approach will be, once your testing is done, you should delete everything. So if you have a credit card, you can still open an account, use the free tier. They provide 1 year of free tier. But as soon as your testing is done, delete everything. Okay? Once everything is deleted, basically bill does not come. But you have to be careful. VPC also needs to be deleted because you might delete EC2 other things, but VPC, there is one component that also needs a deletion. Otherwise, they charge for that VPC, and VPC is by default created for you guys. Okay? So just be aware of that. And if you can do that, set it up. If you don't want to get into all this mess, you can just observe the recordings. It's that's simple to make a choice. Okay? So chalo, signing it to the console. We know basics about AWS console. We go there, we have signed in. Region has to be, for our testing purpose, choose a Mumbai location, which is a nearby data center. So in this Asia specific, in our India, they have data center only in the Mumbai right now. At least for console, they show only that option. So we have to go ahead with the Mumbai location. That means all the services that you will do belongs into this Mumbai region, which is AP South 1. Okay, that's how they are addressing it. Fine. Next, you have to search for EC2 as the service. You can either go from here. If you have previously visited, it will be here, or you can simply go from, let's say, EC2. This one. Search for that, launch it. It opens into its panel like this. You have to go to the instances section. Currently, there is already a server which is running. We will use this for our testing. But in order to create your own server, you just need to go ahead with launch instance option. Once you click launch instance, it is going to give you a panel. As part of that, last time we did very detailed discussion. You need to choose the OS, machine type. For securely connecting, you need a key pair. Okay. And then you have to make sure it has public IP assigned. It will be by default itself, and simple launch instance. So you have to go for launch instance, fill up the data, click on launch instance, EC2 machine will be up and running. So let's put up a note. Okay. In AWS, have EC2 machine created for you. Okay, fine, done. Next, while we are creating this EC2 machine, for securely connecting, we set up a PEM file. Okay, for securely connecting to EC2. Accordingly, in our commands which we use, SCP, SSH, we need to use this security file as well. Then only we are able to connect to this machine. So just be aware. That's a quick reminder of the topic. Okay, next. So now what we are saying is our current situation is EC2 machine is already there. Okay. So this, can we put up a tick mark? EC2 machine is already there. This is done. Now we can build and deploy the Java code, but to which database it is going to be pointing, we don't have that information. So what is our next thing? Okay. In Spring Boot app, we need to point to dev environment AWS in dev property file. This needs to be done. Otherwise, it's meaningless. What are we even deploying on EC2, right? If we know that in our local of processing service, we try to connect to the database. So the database has to be installed. This kind of user should be set up on that database. Then only you can perform all the other activities. If that DB setup is not done, basically this Java code cannot do anything. It will just fail. Spring Boot application failures. Spring Boot JDBC will fail if the DB details are not set up. Now, similarly, when you want to deploy it on AWS, you need to have database configuration in dev property file. So whatever are the changes here, all the keys has to be available in the dev property file also. Then only the circuit breaker and other things will be working. Okay, we will come to that point again. But important thing, try to understand the way in the local property file you connected to local database, like that in the dev property file you need to connect to the dev database. Once you have these code changes, then you do the packaging of jar file, and then you copy the jar file, and then when you execute, it connects to the database. So without making application side changes here, without adding this property, even we deploy it on AWS, it is waste of time. It will not work. Okay, so process logically. So what is the logically right thing to do next? Yes, in Spring Boot app, we need to make DB changes in dev property file to make the system okay. But the point is we need to connect to, okay, we need to connect to AWS dev DB. So for that, as a first step, we have to set up dev DB in AWS using RDS service. So what is going to be our process? First of all, we will set up this kind of RDS service. This process includes two things. Have RDS installed, the way EC2 we have done installation. So we will do have RDS installed as the first step. Once it is installed, second step we need to do is set up DDL and DML. DML is having our master data. Without that, application will not work. DDL is all the table structures, logical database, that is also required. So two steps we need to do for setting up a RDS service. First, the software installation, which internally uses MySQL. The way we have done EC2 setup, like that we have to do RDS setup. Once RDS is set up, then we have to run our scripts to set up our DB side changes. So these will be the two things to be done on the database side. Once we do this, we will get some details about this database. Then we need to use those details here. Okay. So while doing this setup, refer to the DB which was created in above step. Once we do this, then comes the third step, build the jar file, deploy and do the testing. Okay, build jar, deploy and do the testing. Okay. So guys, clear with the approach? Clear with the approach? Think logically, you will understand, yeah, this is the right way to do it. So don't go it in a halfway, right? So process logically. Step, ye karenge, ye karenge, ye karenge. That's it. Okay. Incrementally, you have to always build or even do development and testing. It has to be logically making sense to you, right? So nobody says this is the way. Arey, but samjho, to yahi hai, right? So think about it logically, and yeah, these are the right steps to do. So we will do it. Okay, fine. Let's go ahead setting it up. Good stuff, guys. Everybody, please focus. Okay. So RDS, how to do the setup. Things are very easy. Just because we don't know, so we feel, oh, very big, how to do, how not to do. Just because we are not aware of how to do it. But once you spend like even 30 minutes, you will be like, arey, RDS aa gaya. That's how easy it is to learn anything. So guys, please, if you don't know something, spend a couple of days. One weekend is enough. Get the basic knowledge, do some practical about it, include it into your resume, and confidently say during interview, yes, I know how to do that. You don't need to have like 1 month of training into something to really give that statement. 2 days are enough. Okay, so that's how you have to learn very faster and showcase your skills. Don't wait for a very long time. You're just delaying the end output if you're taking too much time to finish the things. Okay, okay, fine. Let's set up RDS as a step number 1. So we go back to our AWS. EC2 is fine here. So let's not worry about EC2 right now. We will go for RDS. Just search for RDS. Relational Database Service. Okay. So just click on this. Opening in a new tab. The way EC2 opened in some section, RDS is also opening. Okay. The way for EC2 we clicked where? On instances section. Here for RDS also they have DB instances. Currently 0 it is showing, means nothing is set up. So we need to do the DB instance setup. So let's click here. Okay. So currently no database, we need to do the DB setup. Simple actions are there. Create database. Okay. Standard create. They have given a more quicker way of creation also, easy create. Okay. So you can choose that and then go very smoothly as well. Or if you want some bigger set of configuration, you can go ahead with a standard process. But here also some nice defaults are there. Okay. So we don't want to much tweak around with the defaults. Okay, now let's choose standard create. Continue further. These are the SQL databases which RDS is providing support for. Okay, for example, MySQL, Oracle, PostgreSQL, Microsoft SQL Server, IBM DB2, MariaDB. Okay, and all of these guys are SQL databases, relational databases. So you can set up any of this inside an RDS. Okay, so that's what it is. So we want to choose setting up MySQL. Okay. Next, in production also many projects use MySQL. Please be aware. Some projects they will say ki we need Oracle only. It depends. Sometimes clients will say we want proper licensed version of Oracle. Sometimes projects will demand that. In that case, Oracle is going to be utilized. Okay. But yes, for many of the projects in production, people go ahead with MySQL. It is open source version and very nice capabilities. So even for big scale system, MySQL is something which really works well. Okay. There were some cases where we encountered a Microsoft SQL Server also, but it was very less, maybe one project or like two projects. But majority go with MySQL and Oracle. Okay? But you never know. Different projects. IT is a very big company. This is important. You need to understand about IT industry. Dekho guys, so many companies are there, so many projects are there, so many people are there, and multiple standards are there. So if some person tells you, okay, this is how things happen in IT, you should think logical and understand, okay, this is one of the way by which things happen in IT. Because there is no one way by which IT works. Okay, maybe you go to a different project, some variations will come there because it's a very big industry, right? So you should always be like, okay, this is a good standard. For maybe most of the projects they are doing it, still variations can be there because it is a very big industry. So you can find definitely some projects with this also, maybe this also. So, but it completely depends. So be open to again receive all these kind of thoughts. Generally, as a student, people get confused and tense. Or it 10 people are there, they are saying 10 different ways ke IT kaise kaam karta. Point is, IT works in all the 10 ways. It depends upon which project and what decisions people are making. So don't get confused or stressed out. Ke, arey, so many things. And it's not required you to master all the 10 things. Master one of the approach, two approaches, it is fine. And then learn other approaches while you're working on the project. Okay? So be very logical and sensible there. Don't overburden yourself unnecessarily. Fine, let's continue. So RDS is here. MySQL. Go ahead with the community version. Just continue defaults wherever maximum. In our local also, we are using MySQL 8 version. So we will continue with that MySQL 8 version. Next, okay, templates. They created some templates, observe. Okay. We said, right? Replication, DB backups. They are providing those kind of systems by default. Now, depending upon whether you are doing a dev environment setup or a prod environment setup, now they are recommending okay, how exactly you can have your initial version setup. So you just have to choose. And the AWS guys will be taking care of you. For example, this one primary database and then two secondary databases. So at any given point of time, if primary goes down, secondary can take up the backup. So some projects might need this real-time availability. And observe here also, they created in multiple availability zones, EZ1, EZ2, EZ3. So if something goes wrong in one availability zone, it does not disturb the other parts. Okay? And then they are saying 99.95% uptime means system is really going to be available. So very less chances will be there that it can come down. So this is pretty strong statement AWS is giving. But it is a technical system, right? Always some possibility of error could be there. So that is nothing but 0.05%. But 99.95% system is always going to be up. I think even you see some ads, like toothpaste ads, right? Germs will be gone, but they leave 1-2 germs there. So perfect 100% cleaning does not happen. So here also they are trying to make it as precise, but some things can go wrong. Very small chances. So they are claiming what can actually happen. Okay? But yeah, this is pretty fair shot. 99.95. It's a strong commitment. Okay? So it is good. So depending upon your need, you can choose. For our testing, we can set up a free tier, and in free tier, they are giving us only one machine. So no need of backup and everything. The more you do, the more charges you have to pay for that, right? So if there are backups, means you're taking more servers, accordingly bill will be more higher in AWS. So please be aware, these all things come with a cost. So now the thing is, once you choose a free tier, at least they are giving one primary instance, so which we can use for our demonstration. And no data redundancy, means they are not copying, backing up for free tier the way it is currently set up like this. Okay? So they are not making it available at different places. No redundancy of data. Fine. Next, what name do you want to give for this data? Guys, remember about database. We said two things, right? One is physical DB, another one is logical DB. Logical DB you do by running that create database statement. Physical DB is what we are setting up right now. Okay. So if you want to call this database something, you can just put some name there. Let's say April 25 hyphen database 1. Okay. Some database name, physical DB name we are giving. Next. This is going to be username for connecting to your main database, admin, and you can set up some password for that. Okay, so remember whatever password, because without this we will not be able to connect and run our DB scripts. So you need to remember the passwords. So admin user and some password for that. Next, continue. Guys, majority you continue with the defaults. Continue with the defaults. Okay, important thing is here we want to enable it like public access. So project to project, it depends. Okay? So sometimes they might say, no, we don't want it via public access. Then how do you run scripts? For that in AWS, there are certain concepts like tunneling concepts. First, you need to connect to AWS, and from that tunnel, you need to connect to this database and then run the scripts. So that is a workaround technique. But for now, not required to you guys to be aware of all that as a junior level. Simply turn it back to public. And you can tell during interview, if from your local machine, it was possible to connect to the database. Production database, anyways, you will not have access. But at least non-prod DB, you can connect from your local machine. How is that connection possible? Because here, public access, they are enabling it. But for connecting, again, you need credentials and all. So it will have its safety measures also in place. Okay. Furthermore, IP control can also be done. Okay, only from this IP, we allow access to the database. So secured thing will be there. Even though it says public, means outside AWS, you can still connect to it. Security principles will still be in place, like IP whitelisting, password is there. So that will take care that unauthorized access to this machine cannot happen. Okay? So that's what it is. So, but make sure public is there. Why we need public access? Because from our local DB viewer, here also We connected to local. Now we need to connect to even AWS related dev DB, AWS related DB. Okay. For that reason, we have done it like this. So if we don't put it public, you cannot connect and you cannot run your queries. So make sure it is public. Okay. And rest of the things, just continue with the defaults. Just continue with the defaults. No need to work around with anything. Okay. And then in the end, create database. So what did we do? Basically nothing. Just choosing MySQL, choosing our free tier with single instance, just putting some logical name. In the naming, you can put here -dev. Okay, you can put a -dev. So when QA related database will be set up, it will be a -QA. Another instance will be set up. So you can put dev is nothing but with this naming. Okay, fine. And then username, password we have set, and then just made it public. Same thing, few steps we have mentioned here also. Go to RDS, MySQL, version 8, free tier, set up admin password, and then make it public IP. Here in between somewhere we can say put up your name, put up DB name. Okay, so we can put this in some break bullet points. Where is move back? Okay, give some logical name to your DB. Give name to your DB. DB like dev, QA, which you can use for referring purpose. Fine. These are the changes. So once we do these, then RDS is going to be created. Let's go ahead doing that. So we finished it all. Go there and then create database. Okay. This is further additional stuff. No, we don't want to do any other proxying or any additional setup. We can simply close it. Okay. Now, please be aware, database setting up is a bigger activity. It's a heavy activity. So it is going to take some time, maybe around 5 minutes, 10 minutes, sometimes even more required. But generally, since it's a fresh new database, it will still need a few minutes, 5-10 minutes max. Okay. So what we will do is, by the time this database is being set up, we will make application side changes. And then meanwhile, maybe the DB will be set up. Then we will connect from our local machine for executing our scripts. Okay. So going back to our actions, what needs to be done? Have RDS installed. Yes, we have done this. Second, in this one, we need to do this. But currently, okay, waiting for setup to complete. Once this setup is completed, right now it is in creating status, let it become available and ready for use. Once we have it ready for use, then we can connect to that. So we will pause this right now. We will move to other activity which we can do. Okay, what is the other activity? Java side changes. In Spring Boot app, we need to point to this database. Okay, so chalo, let's make application side changes. First, from both our services, we are using database currently only in processing service. That means we need to make changes only in the processing service. In PayPal provider, we are not having any DB related operations right now, so no need to have it. Okay, fine. Now that means we need to do changes only here. Dekho guys, try to think about it logical. While we discuss the concept of profiles, what happens? In the environment specific property file, you define keys and values. Let's think about this logically. Whenever your Spring Boot application comes up, it tries to read the keys from these property files, and whatever are the values, it uses the values during execution of the project, right? So what are we saying here? Okay, we have key value defined in properties file. What is now the nature of Spring Boot application? When our Spring Boot app is comes up, it reads the keys from the property file. This will be based upon the profile. We did all that, right? Based on profile. If you do it for dev, then picks up from the dev, otherwise QA and other places. So based upon the profile, it reads the keys from the property file and uses the values when executing the Spring Boot app. This is a clear, very clear, self-explanatory statement. We define keys and the values. Whenever Spring Boot app is coming up, reads these and uses this value for doing the purpose. Now, yes, not all the values, we are not directly reading all the values using @value annotation, but we have so many jar files in our class path. We added so much of POM dependencies. So when Spring is auto configuring beans, as part of that, they are also reading the property. So either we do it directly in our code, or whether any jar file in our class path is reading it. In both the cases, these keys are supposed to be there, otherwise application will fail to start. That's what it is. So currently, in our entire profiling related concept, we were doing our entire development in our local. So whatever needed properties were there, we added that in application-local. But we know that whenever we want to go to the AWS environments, all of these values should also be available in that environment specific file. Otherwise, applications cannot run on the environments. Java code is going to remain the same, but configuration data, environment to environment, we need to do the setup. Currently, in the dev, we have not applied anything. So that means it will fail definitely if we execute it. So we need to make sure whatever details are available in local has to be available there also. So what we will do here, from the second property, all the properties, we are copying it and moving it into dev property file. Okay, save. Let's write down this conclusion. Okay, whatever keys you have in local, same should be available in other environment specific keys property files also. Otherwise, application cannot run. There will be exception during startup itself, else app will fail to start on that environment. Okay. Now, please note that keys has to be the same and values has to be environment specific values. If let's say on that environment, same values are there, so you can keep it same. But you have to be very careful, read every field and check whatever value you are setting, it should be applicable for that environment. So that is the next thing you need to be careful. Okay, while setting up values for the keys in environment specific property files, ensure the values specific to that environment is used. Okay, so just ensure the correct values are used. That's what it is. If values are same, no problem, keep it same. Okay, so now we are here. Data source, just be aware. Just think about it logically. This processing service, we will be moving it in EC2 for execution. And if this code goes like this, localhost 3306. That means database is running in localhost 3306. Is this right? Think about it for a moment. Your Spring Boot application is going to run here. And you are saying database is also running in localhost, means this machine itself. That's not true. Database is running outside in an RDS. So how can you say localhost? That's wrong. So that means here we need to provide dev environment database related location, not localhost. That is what. Now that this is environment specific configuration. In the local machine when you are running it, you call localhost, but in the dev when you are running it, you need to call the name of the dev related database. How will we find this name? From AWS console itself, you can find the name. So I think it's been already few minutes. Some DB setup was already happening. It is showing available also, very good. So now we can do the required changes. Just click on this database and observe, scroll down here. They mentioned endpoint like this. Okay, just see, it is running on port 3306 itself. That's the default port for our MySQL. So 3306. So that means, yes, it is running in 3306 itself, but not on localhost, but on this endpoint. So we need to copy this endpoint and use it in the property file of the dev environment. Be very clear what you are doing, where you are doing it. Local mein when you are doing, you need to talk to the local database. Dev mein when you are doing, this code will run it in the EC2 machine. From there, you need to connect to the dev environment. So dev RDS, how you can find RDS? This is the name. How did we get the name? We just got it from our AWS RDS console itself. Very good. So we copied this. Port is the same. Okay, here we are. Next, username, password. If you are keeping the same password, fine. If you are changing it, accordingly, you have to change it. Remaining mostly things are the same. PayPal provider, we can still continue to be localhost because as per our current system, both the services, we will deploy it in the same EC2 machine. So both of them can be localhost, no problem. If you deploy one in a different EC2, then you need to specify details about that EC2, then only connection will happen. Furthermore, when you are putting a load balancer in between to connect to that, then you need to provide the name of the load balancer. How can you provide that? Guys, the way once you have set up this RDS, it gave you this name. Similarly, once load balancer is set up in AWS, then also it will give you something like this name only. You just need to take it and use it in your application. No problem. Load balancer also can simply be set up here. I think here itself somewhere. Just see, load balancer configurations are available. You can create your own load balancer and use it in the application. Okay, fine. Fine. So these are some key pointers to be aware of. Let's look at the rest of the data. This is going to work because PayPal provider will run on the same EC2 right now. So no need to change anything. We will set up with the same username, password, no change. MySQL itself is the driver, no change. These two things are fine, no change. These parameters are again same, no need to modify. Right now, if you want to change any circuit breaker configuration for environment, local different, environment different, you can do that. But currently, again, optional. So we are not changing anything. Eureka is turned off, so no problem at all. This file change is ready. That's it. We don't want to make any other Java changes. Only configuration information you need to be careful every time whenever you are doing deployment. Okay? So that make it a regular practice. Now, looks like this is fine. But currently, we cannot deploy this one yet because this database is not set up. So now we can continue with that activity. Okay? So step number 2, we made these changes. So this is done. In Spring Boot application, making the changes in the property to talk to the dev and whatever else thing required, we completed this activity. Now we cannot still run this because we have not set up this DB. So let's first set up the DB part. Now it is up also. Okay. So how do we set up the DB? Connect from your local machine using DB viewer and then execute the scripts there. That process is the same. How do we connect? Okay, simple. Okay. The way you connect it to local, now we will do right click, create connection, again MySQL connection. Even though it is RDS, internally it's MySQL, so we will go ahead like MySQL connection. Next, okay, server, where is your database running? We need to again provide the database related endpoint location here. So we will need this itself. Port is 3306, but name will be now this one. Port continues to be like this. This means logical database. No, we don't want to give any logical database name. Just connect to the database. That's enough for us. Username, password. By default, when you installed MySQL in local machine, it had root related. But now when we were setting up RDS, we have done admin as the username and some password we set. So we need to provide those details here. Admin and the corresponding password. Once these two things are done, test whether you are able to connect. Okay, test it. Worked. Because it was public accessible and we had the right credentials, so we are able to access it. Okay, fine. Now we can say okay, and we do finish. It is available here. So by this way, once you have a QA database, you will have third database software also set up here. Same, right click, create new connection, and then you connect to the QA, then UAT. Okay, your lead, sometimes prod access might be there, sometimes. Okay, so it completely depends. But yeah, every database software that you want to connect, every physical DB, it will be available in this left hand side panel. Okay, fine. So now, yes, we are done with connecting to this machine. So your first step is set up in DB. You are done. Next, connect and execute our scripts. So you expand this. It shows it is now trying to connect with it. Yes, green mark means connected. We need to create a new SQL script. So click on SQL editor and new SQL script. Go ahead like this. Find new SQL script. Make sure right database is available. If you remember, when we were discussing about database, we said if multiple DBs are there, you need to choose the right one. Now we are seeing that part again. So SQL script. In this script, we can run the code. So make sure that DB is connected. Okay, fine. Next, run our DDL scripts. So go back to our code. Just open our DDL. Okay, here it is. DDL. Take it, execute it. Same logical DB, same password, just structure we are creating. Okay, so copy everything and go back here, execute this. Paste, select, execute, go. Okay, fine. It executed all the commands and it is fine. Okay, once everything is ready, we need to do other creation, which is our DML, which includes master data and some testing data also. Maybe recon related, some transaction test data. Let's set up both. So we go here, select all, go back here, delete, refresh. Okay, select all and execute. Okay, ran all the queries without any syntactical problems. It is done. Once these two changes are done, it's good to do a refresh. Okay, just observe here. if you expand this database, currently it is still not showing payments here. So once you run all this initial setup, good to do the refresh here. So right click, refresh. Then our recent query related results will be visible. So it reloads those things for visibility here. Okay, fine. Now next, select star from payments dot transaction table. Okay, firing a query. We have this kind of a data. Okay, we have this kind of a data. Let's set up the data so that we can test recon. Okay, so because we are using that itself for our full system testing, so rather than 3, we will use only 1. So make retry count more than 3. So 10 10, and last one is 0. So we can continue with this. Statuses are 3 and 4. This is fine. So you can save this. Next, in our local DB, whatever provider reference we use for our testing, we can just copy this reference also there. Provider reference, setting up the required data. We did this earlier for our local testing. Now we are doing it for even AWS. So for the third row, provider reference, okay, done. Save it all. So what are the changes that we did? Okay, first set up DB viewer. After that, execute DDL and DML scripts. Okay, after that we did a refresh of connection. After that we updated data or updated transaction table data to make it ready for testing, recon. Okay, which is nothing but one, okay, whatever, you know it, what we did. Okay, ID, provider reference is proper. Out of 3, only 1 transaction we enabled. That's what it is. Okay, so looks like the DB setup is done. Now, if there are any problems, we have to again fix it back. But looks like the DB setup is done. Whatever is the DB name, we have taken that DB name and applied the changes in this place also. Username is fine, password is fine, everything is looking okay. So no issues. So it's all saved. Now we can do build and deployment. Okay, chalo, let's get started. Guys, clear with this team? Okay, it was simple, few clicks here and there, and logically progressing step by step. Are we clear, guys? Are we clear, team, so far? What have we done? EC2 machine is set up. It was already available. Abhi database bhi done hai. Database ka scripts we have run. Java code changes are done. Okay, okay, guys. Let's move forward. Okay, let's move forward, everybody. Now we need to deploy our Java changes on EC2 and use it. Okay, so guys, all the recap is going to happen now. What is that recap? Mobaxterm is going to come in picture. SSH, SCP, all that activity which we saw earlier, now we have to repeat all that. So again, good revision time for us. So yes, we need Mobaxterm. So let me freshly launch it. Mobaxterm. Using this tool, we have to do all our build and deployment activities. Okay, one by one, let's go through it, guys. First, processing service, we made the required changes for dev property file. In provider also, are we supposed to do something? Let's check on that. Right click local of provider service. Provider service is also having a lot of configuration. In dev, what do we have? Oh, in dev, all the changes are not there. Means provider service will also fail during startup on that environment. So we need to make sure we apply these changes there as well. So copy all this local and then put it here in the dev part as well. Okay, fine. The changes are applied. Again, you have to do environment specific thing. Okay, do we have a different client ID secret for dev environment and anything else? API key anyways, we have not applied it here, so not a problem. Okay. So, but yes, be careful. You need to have all the keys first of all. Values are environment specific, but yes, we did the changes. Everything is now fine. So step number 1 is we will build the jar files in local. Let's recap what are the steps that we are supposed to do in this process. Okay, using MVN clean package -profile dev, we will build 2 jar files. One is for processing service, another one is for provider service. Second, using SCP command, copy these jars to EC2. Using SCP command, we will be copying this to EC2 machine. Okay, and yes, after that we will log into EC2, SSH EC2, and then start the services. Where is this EC2? We have already created it a few weeks ago itself. You can watch that part of the video. Plus, even today, we gave a quick recap at the beginning about how EC2 related setup is going to be. But finally, like this EC2 is going to be available. If we click on this EC2, it is having a IP. So we need to SSH to this, SCP to this, connect basically everything with this IP, right? So let's start performing commands one by one. So what is the first step? We need to build package. Let's do that. So one by one we will do. First, processing service. Right click, run as, Maven build, clean package. We don't write MVN command here when you run it as a goal of ID, right? Clean package -P profile dev, and then run it. Okay, super. Build activity is completed. So where are we? The jar file is here. So we can simply copy this path in target. Jar file is available. So we can just copy this, put the statement here. In this, our jar file is available. Okay, next, what is the name of the jar file? Our jar file is payment processing service.jar. Fine. Next, let's build that other service also. So right click, run as, Maven build, clean package -P dev, and run. Okay, this build is also completed. This is our location. Copy, paste. Our jar file name is this. Next, we need to copy this to the destination location. So first we will go to these places. So we know that here we need to do SC or like SCP. So first we need to go to the place where the jar file is available. Simple CD commands, and it needs 2 backslashes. So I will replace this so our command becomes easy, like replace single slash with 2 slashes, replace all. It needs a command like this, 2 slashes. So we will do that. Mobax term CD space like this. Okay, LL. Yes, we are in that location. So this becomes our processing service. Let's open another tab for PayPal provider service. copy, CD, done. LL, PayPal provider service also is available. Okay, fine. Now our steps are to copy. We know the syntax, SCP source destination. Okay, what is our syntax? SCP source destination. While doing it, we need the secret key. Okay, so secret key already we have done last time itself, PEM file and all that. Okay, so the command, let's check whether we have the command here. Yes, we do have some commands. Okay, what are it? SCP-I. Let me copy this here for reference. Okay, let's check it out. SCP-I. Local may you have to specify your security key. Let's see whether I have this. Open. AWS 25 CT security key PEM. So yes, it is available. Security key PEM. So yes. So the security key, when we are creating EC2 machine, then we have downloaded this earlier itself. You can watch that previous recording, how to do EC2 setup. As part of that, we got this PEM file. So yes, we have it. Next, in the current folder, payment processing service.jar. Okay, fine. So we need to run this command in the place where this jar file is available. Where do you want to connect? EC2 user. We know that for every EC2, by default, EC2 user will be there. @ IP of this machine. So let's go here, copy, come back here, come back here. Okay, so the correct IP is also updated in this command. So this IP and on this location we need to copy. Okay, so this command is also ready to copy payment processing service first of all. So let's check on that part. So we'll take this command SCP. It will copy the jar from local to the destination. We copy this, go back here, execute here, run. Do you want to copy? Yes. Okay, I started. 38, 45. Okay, things are moving. 100%. Super. So this jar is copied. Now we will copy PayPal provider jar also to the destination. Okay, take this, go to the second location and copy this as well. Okay, copying has started. If there is any problem with the security key or with this destination, you will not be able to copy. If those things are all fine, then this percentage will start. Okay, these two things are done. Next, let's log into that destination EC2 and see whether these jar files came there or not. Okay, so for that, SSH is the command. We can simply do something like SSH. So I will take this command, and this is for connecting to EC2 like this. Again, for connecting, security key is required. EC2 is the user and IP is this one, is it? Yes, it's the same IP. Let's connect using this command. So we go here and let's open a third tab and then connect like this. Yes, we are connected. By default, you go to PWD home/EC2 user. We were copying in home/EC2 user itself. So we were saying on what folder it should be copied. So now we copied it here. Let's do a LL. Okay, both the jar files are available here. Okay. Furthermore, last time we discussed, right, you can give permission chmod 777 so that you can copy again. So please continue doing that. Okay, fine. So changes are done till this point. Copied, build the jar, deployed it there, and now we need to start services. Okay. For now, we will convert into root user and start the services like a root user. How do you become a root user? Sudo su, super user you become. Okay, go. And now we need to start our services. First, let's see whether these services, anything is running. ps-ef, grep java, all these commands, we have already practiced this. Let me open here. Where is our notes? Okay, control F, ps. Just see, while previous sessions we were discussing, we applied these basic few commands of Linux there. ps-ef, grep java. These are multiple other commands which we'll be needing. So yeah, using this we can check whether services are up or not. So right now we are using one of such command itself. ps-ef, it will show list of processes. In that you want to see whether any Java based process is running or not, and then you do enter. Okay, nothing. Both of them are down. Fine. Let's bring these services up. Last time we already discussed, these services needs to be running as a background process. For that, nohup command is required, and whatever output is coming, we need to redirect it to some log files. So that process again will be coming back here. So we have seen that earlier. Today is a recap about all those things. Okay. So we simply do these two commands, nohup related commands. And multiple times we have already seen how to run a Java Spring Boot service using executable jar file concept. What is the command? Java space -jar, name of the jar file. But last time we discussed, while executing the service, some min and max heap size you need to specify. So yes, we can specify that heap size here. Next, whenever you run the command, some output will start printing. The way right now, when you run this command, console output starts coming up here or not, right? So that kind of console output will come. You're simply saying redirected that output to this log file on the same location. And then you say run this as a background process. So for that syntax is nohup, for running as a background process, nohup, and then you have to type command in between and then put a @ in the end, ampersand in the end. So this is the syntax about nohup. Accordingly, these statements are created. Nohup, then this is the command, and then this. So this runs as a background process. Whatever command you run, it runs as a background process. Your terminal is not in a stuck state. It just runs it and leaves it. Fine. So, and we dissected what these things are. Executable jar file running with some min and max heap size defined for that. Okay, let's run both of these two services. First, we will start with payment processing service. Okay, so we go here, copy, go back here, nohup, go, tail-f processing service.log. Service is coming up. Nice. Tomcat started on port 8082. We discussed this command already last time, tail command. If you want to see like console when new statements come in, so it is being written to a file, but you want to see the latest information, tail command you use, tail-f, and then just open up this file like that. So whenever new changes are coming, you can real time see the changes as well. Okay, fine, very good. Next, close this. So this service is up and running. How do we confirm it is up and running? ps-ef. Okay, you do what? ps hyphen ef grep java, like this. So yes, it is up and running. Now similarly we will do other service also. So provider service, copy this, paste it here, go, enter, tail hyphen f provider dot log. Yes, this is also started on port 8083. Okay. One thing, try to understand, when we opened processing service, okay, not sure during startup itself, does it try to connect to the database? Okay, we have not ran our query so far, but it did not give any exception. Service is up and running. Did it try to connect to the DB? Not sure. Let's check the log if something is available. Okay, so we can do that. How? That is where, guys, VI editor skills will come into picture. Okay, so we will open VI processing service.log. VI editor skills, you can find it on YouTube and other places. Go and check it out. But generally, I'll just tell you a few things which we need on a daily basis for, let's say, search if you want to do. So always latest things will come at the bottom of the file. So it is good to start searching from bottom to top so you can see the latest answers. So how do you go to the end of the file? You do Shift G. Shift G takes you to the last line. Okay? :1 takes you to the first line. So please be aware. Shift G :1. Did we do this activity earlier? Shift G :1? No. Okay? Here we have specified at least something. Using VI editor. Go to the last line. Shift G. Okay, go to the first line. First line. You do :1. How do you go for first line? :1. How do you go for last line? Shift G. Okay. Next, these things will be very much required. Forward search and backward search. Let's say if you are in the last line and you want to search the previous occurrence. So how do you do that? Okay. Go to the last line and question mark and specify any pattern. This is find previous. Find previous. I will re-update these ID shortcuts back into our Google Drive. Already the file is there with the previous thing. These new changes, I will update it today. So find previous goes like this. Once you find the first occurrence, you can do find next by just clicking on enter. Okay, click enter. So by that way, find previous, it will keep happening. So, okay, find previous, bottom say it will start moving in up direction. Okay. So find next previous. So don't get confused. So it is like bottom to up direction movement. How we can see that? Let's check it out here. So Shift G takes us to the last line. Okay. Shift G takes us to the last line. You want to search some pattern. You can simply do question mark and look for some pattern. For example, I'm just trying to give you certain example. Let's say tomcat. So type tomcat. Tomcat. Some color highlighting is happening. And then you give enter. Okay, so put up a pattern, enter. Now observe, already the last occurrence is highlighted. Here you can see with a nice gray mark. Small, only at T there is a gray mark. Okay, you have to learn to see these things also. And then I do end. Okay, no, not you don't type enter here, you type N. Okay, that's what these commands are so much part of day to day. Okay, fingers type it automatically without remembering. So when you do too much of coding, your hands with shortcuts and everything becomes like that. Okay, so conscious mind is like enter marna padega, but no, finger is automatically typing N there, and then that is a realization, oh, N is required, not enter. Okay, fine. So practice, make so much code so that your brain starts doing these things automatically, right? Debugging, problem solving, everything. Okay, so practice a lot, habituate, make it a habit, so you naturally respond to problems and other things while you code. Okay, fine. So N say you go to the previous occurrence. Observe, earlier gray mark was here, now gray mark is here. If I do another N, it goes here. I do another N, it goes here. Just see, the gray mark is going to the previous occurrences. Okay? So do we see any database related statement? No, there is nothing related to database here. Maybe no logs also specified. Shift G, DB. No, there is nothing like DB. Question mark, data. Nothing like data. Okay, so in the logs, at least we don't know whether DB connection tried to happen or not. But let's see. We will test the system now via Postman, call it, test it, and see whether it works. So that will be our next step. But currently what we see, our services are up and running. How do we know that? PS-EF, grep, Java, both the services are up and running. Okay. Let me do once exit, and reconnect once more. Okay. Sudo su ps-ef grep Java. It's available. Okay. Fine. Both the services are up and running. Now, our next step is, come back here. What are we doing? So this, let me save. Let's go here. Build the jar, deploy the changes. In Spring Boot app, we need to make the property changes. We have key values. Okay, I think this entire conversation will move into this section itself. Step number 2 related conversation is there. So let's move it there. Okay. So what are our major steps? Step number 1, set up RDS. Do the DDL and all setup. Okay, done. Step number 2, property file changes. Done. Step number 3, build and deploy. Done. Step number 4, do the testing. Okay. So do the testing. Let's put it as a separate process. Step number 4, do the testing. How do we do testing? Okay, from Postman invoke processing service which is running on AWS. Okay, how do we do that? Again, public IP we will take of this EC2 machine. So go here, public IP you need to take. You can come back here. Every time for recon, we are testing it in our local. Now, instead of the local host, we need to pass that IP. So what we will do is, let's keep this as it is, because local testing also will require. So we will, it's already saved. We will just do duplicate here. Okay, let's do a duplicate here. And let's say processing of recon AWS dev. Okay, so this is AWS dev, and then we put that IP here and do a save. Okay, guys, if you remember last time related conversation, when you try to connect to this port on this IP from outside, some AWS security group rules will be coming in picture. We saw this earlier. It's a reminder again. AWS security group rules will start coming in picture. AWS security group, which says, okay, who can connect, who cannot connect. So let me say, already for this EC2 machine, if you go to the security section, okay, security group is there. Please be aware, we have already enabled some port connectivity for 8082, 8083. If you don't have it, it will not work. So you need to open this security group and there edit and give access to these ports from outer place. So we have already done the required setup. So let's try to test it now once. Okay. So, but please be aware here, some security group configuration will be required. Okay. So once it is applied, we want to test this call. Okay. So behind the screen, let's do some tail. Tail works like our console, right? It's a file, but whenever new changes are happening in the file, you want to see it. So you need to open it in a tail mode. Otherwise, how can you easily debug what are the new changes happening? So you have to open a file, and you know how the file opening experience is. It doesn't take the latest changes immediately. So we want to tail it so that latest changes are reflected. Tail -f processing service.log and give an enter. So this opens like console of your IDE. Whenever new changes are coming, it is visible here. So we have ran that command. Fine. Let's do a test now of the recon and see what happens next. Okay. So we go here, Postman. This is our cloud, and let's hit it. Okay, guys, what happened? API worked. Let's go here and check it out. What happened? These many number of log statements came from our enter. It was connecting to database properly, added the DB connection, and we know that profile related configuration from AWS, it is not connecting to our local database. No. AWS say it is connecting to the AWS dev. It cannot connect to our local dev from that point, right? How can external AWS service now connecting to local dev? Not directly possible. You can open your laptop also as a public IP or something and then link it. That's a different issue. We have not done that setup. So AWS service cannot talk to local. It is talking to that guy itself. And yes, once you see that, okay, it connected to the database, it loaded one transaction, and then this was the provider reference for that transaction, and then it further went through. That is where we said log reading is important. Your logs should tell you the story, what is happening, because everything is there in logs itself. So we went, we got a list, recon service picked up first. After that, an asynchronous task for this transaction was initiated. It went to PayPal provider. Your transaction was printed there. Okay. And then PayPal provider recon, you went there. You created an HTTP request. So this was the full URL which you prepared. And then you made HTTP call. Okay. You made HTTP call. That happened from your HTTP service engine. Next, in the HTTP service engine itself, you got 200 OK response from your provider service, which is running on localhost 8083. Mean cross-service communication also happened, and provider was able to call to external PayPal service also. All that drama happened, and finally we got the reply back, and then we are just able to just remaining is just our testing, conversion from object into whatever DTOs, printing it, and knowing that that status is in pair action required status. Okay? So this is how we can set up RDSDB and Java change, make the deployment, and have it working. Okay? So let's come out. Control C, if you do, you will be out of the tail command. Okay, tail command say for coming out, Control C is required. So we can just say this tail if you are doing. Okay, to come out of it, Control plus C to end the tailing. Let's just put it like that. Okay, save it. Guys, are we clear with this? Okay. So the first part is taken care. Nice recaps of some basic command, SCP, SSH, security group, connecting, log aa raha hai. But instead of local, everything is now in AWS. So be careful with all these. Anywhere if you are making mistakes, struggle will be there. Not providing right IP, not having the right database setup, build and deployment, keys are problematic. So you have to do everything very carefully. Okay, good stuff, everybody. First part is done. Okay, chala, let's go to the second part now. Guys, take a few sips of water. We'll go to the second part. Take a few sips of water. There is this nice technique. I don't know whether you guys practice it or not. Somewhere this technique was written. wherever you are sitting in, let's say, traffic, and you're waiting for a signal, rather than being frustrated, generally sometimes even 3 minutes ka signal might be there, right, to change from red to green. So people are like, "Arey, khul nahi raha," and frustration starts coming up. Somewhere I read this nice technique. What people say is, you have that 3 minutes of time there. Rather than being frustrated, just do some deep breathing. Calculate, because timer is running in that, right? 3 minutes ka countdown. Just calculate per minute how many deep breaths you can take, because deep breathing makes your mind very peaceful. Okay? So I think next time onwards, when you are waiting on a traffic signal, make this a part of your life. If you're having conversation with other people, no problem. But sometimes you're alone sitting on a bike also waiting for that. So rather than doing anything, 3 minutes, just do some deep breathing. You really feel peaceful with that. Even if you take 5 deep breaths, guys, mind becomes relaxed. These are some basics of meditation, and put it, your mind will be so peaceful. We can try it now. 3 times, can we do a deep breath, guys? How to do it? Inhale deep and slow from your nose, exhale from your mouth like a straw kind of opening. You will feel peaceful. Just you do it, you will be so much relaxed. Okay, great breathing technique, guys. Okay, breathe in, exhale. Again, second time, and exhale. And let your body relax. Third time, inhale and exhale. Two more times you will do, inhale and exhale. And breathe in and breathe out. You can close your eyes so that you can feel it. Rub your palm, open it on your face, and you feel peaceful. Right? All of a sudden ऐसे लगता है कि भाई chill हो गया. Right? No matter how much busy you are, how much stressed out you are, you're going in for interview, you're feeling nervous, do 5 breathing. You're frustrated, you're angry, do 5 breathing. Any kind of situation you are in, you do this. You're afraid, you're scared, you're worried, you're stressed. 5 breaths will just take you away from that situation. It is such a magical technique, but we don't use it. We just see like, okay, meditation ka kuch to hai, but it has to be part of everybody and done daily. You will start living more happily. It is that simple technique. Guys. 5 bar deep breath, anybody can do it. But yes, you have to habituate it. Maza aega. You will find your life is very peaceful. Nothing, tension will not come. And that's a nice meditation technique also. Okay, so chalo, we did 5 breaths. Let's start with the second part of our today's session, which is working with AWS Secrets Manager. Okay, chalo, let's go, guys. Everybody, focus. Second part. All these things are good. Here we are. Now we go to working with AWS Secrets Manager. Okay. We already know the concept here. In the beginning of today's session, we gave the need of Secret Manager. Sensitive data should not be in your code. It should be kept somewhere else. That somewhere else is AWS Secret Manager. Multiple other options are available. We are choosing this one. Okay? So in AWS Secret Manager, move the sensitive data. So what are the changes that we are supposed to do for this? First of all, think about it logically. We need to have AWS setup to, we will for now focus on only one service, not everything. Okay? One demonstration if we do, same way it has to be done for everything. So what we will do is processing service. Okay, processing service, application-dev of processing service. This password, instead of reading it from our property file, we will read it from AWS Secret Manager. Local file में no changes at all. Local में you can have your password. It is your local machine. It's up to you. But in the dev environment, we don't want to read it from this place. Now देखो, it completely depends on project to project. Sometimes people might say, अरे dev environment also, no need to worry about security because live people are not there. मतलब in the dev environment, live customer data will not be there. So even if technical people know it, what's the big deal? They anyways need to have access to the dev database. So many times people will say, in the dev QA, let there be in property file only. Only UAT and prod, you keep it in AWS Secret Manager. So please be aware, people might do different decisions. So it's not like a password of all environments should always be there in secret store, not required. If dev environment data, you don't have any sensitive data in the dev environment, even if developer have access to this password, it's not a big deal, no security problem. So sometimes people will say, okay, password should be kept outside, but of UAT and prod, remaining things are still fine. So please be aware, it is very customizable. You want to keep sensitive data, but which sensitive data of which environments? So now we have environment specific sensitive data, right? So we have environment specific sensitive data. So dev environment, DB password will be there. QA environment, DB password will be there. So you have to discuss with your team, okay, what data you are considering as sensitive. If they are saying dev and the QA is not that sensitive, anyways it is test data only, even if the developer have access to that, no problem. So no issues, you can keep it in property file. But if you're saying UAT and prod, sometimes, yeah, UAT also needs to be taken care a bit seriously. Not everybody should have access, because in the UAT environment, clients will be doing the testing. Okay, some senior guys will be there, client side people will be there. So just giving access to developers, what if developer go there, change some data and their testing results change? So it is very risky. So generally UAT also we can consider sensitive. Prod should definitely be considered sensitive. So we might realize only these two data needs to be stored in AWS Secret Manager. This can still continue to be in our local only. Okay? That will be a good practice, but it depends. Some people say, nahi, pura ka pura we want to consider secret. Okay, fine, it's their choice. But it's up to you. You and the team discuss together, finalize what needs to be done. For our today's demonstration, we will consider that even dev environment data is sensitive and we don't want to keep it in the property file. Okay, so that will be our case that we will verify. Okay, so for our testing, our use case will be dev db password should be saved in AWS Secrets Manager, and our Spring Boot app, when it runs in dev AWS environment, should connect to this AWS Secret Manager for reading DB password and then Spring app executes. So this is what is our use case. Let's read the use case again. Dev database password, we want to remove it from our property file and we want to keep it inside AWS Secret Manager. That is change number one. After that, change number two is, when we are running this Spring Boot application in dev, since it is not available, this is not available in this code, we need to make some code changes where your Spring Boot application can read it from AWS Secret Manager. So code changes will also be there. Java side changes also we need to do to read from AWS Secret Manager when you're deploying it on the dev environment, right? Okay, it is straightforward concept. Don't overcomplicate it. Once we start testing, you will automatically see it. Same project, when you run it in local, it should pick from this place. Same project, when you run it in the dev, it will not have the value here. So it should connect to dev configuration in AWS Secret Manager and read the information. Okay? So let's see how all those things happen. One by one, we will dig into this information. What we are supposed to do. First, in AWS setup to store dev environment DB password in AWS Secrets Manager. Step number one will be this. Okay. Second, Spring Boot app changes in processing service to read data, to read password from Secret Manager, SM, Secret Manager, and in that changes itself, remove the password from DB. These two things we have to do. AWS side, some work is going to be there, and application side, some work is going to be there. So right now we will make these two changes. Okay? Chalo, let's make it happen. Guys, again, AWS, everything is a service. You can just search based upon this name and you will find it. Okay? So you go here, go back to your AWS console and start searching here with the name Secrets Manager. And now you have Secrets Manager service. Open it up in a different tab. Okay. Again, try to understand here. Environment specific secrets could be there. The password value for dev environment might be different. Password for prod might be different. QA might be different. UAT might be different. Right? Environment specific configurations, different projects, different approaches they might follow. They might say the DB password for all the environments, we want to keep it different. So first conclusion, try to understand here is environment specific sensitive information data might change. Sensitive information data means, for example, DB password. So environment specific, it might be different. Okay. Observe the second important point. Service specific also information is different. For example, processing service needs the password of database, but provider service does not need it. Provider service needs something else. Client ID, PayPal client ID, client secret, and open API key. So that means this sensitive data is now, okay, every service or every microservice can have different sensitive data. Nothing but fields itself are different. Different keys itself. For example, processing service is having DB password. However, PayPal provider is having what? PayPal client ID, client secret, and open API key. So if you really observe, in one line, if you want to put this, sensitive information is service specific, comma, environment specific. This is the main statement that we want to draw conclusion. Okay. Sensitive information is service specific, environment specific. Okay, what does this mean? DB password for processing service in dev environment can be different and DB password for processing service in QA environment can be different. If in future even PayPal provider starts having database password, it is going to have a different schema altogether. So we can say DB password for PayPal provider service, in dev will be different, QA will be different, and this is completely different than the DB password of processing service. So try to visualize the sensitive information. We are trying to categorize it. Okay, it is environment specific, service specific data. Guys, is this clear? This is important statement. Is this clear? If you understand this, then you will understand the next part. Sensitive data is environment specific, service specific data. Means dev environment ka data for processing service different values, QA environment for processing service different values, dev of PayPal provider different values. So categorization is like this: environment specific, service specific. Chalo, very good. Thanks for confirmations. Very good. This was important to understand. Then you can understand remaining things easily. Okay? Fine. And once we are doing more of this practically, you will get the context again, even if you missed a few points. But yes, okay, focus back again. Sensitive information can be organized in this manner. Service specific, nothing but microservice specific, whether it is processing service or PayPal provider service. So data is different. And for that service also, environment wise data could be different. So somehow our next aim is how to store service specific, environment specific information in AWS Secret Manager. So that is our next target. How to set up? Okay, easy. It's not that complex, first of all. Okay, it's easy. How to set up service specific, or we can say microservice specific, whatever makes it more clear for you to connect what we are talking here. Microservice specific, comma, environment specific configuration in AWS Secrets Manager. This we need to do. Okay. So let's say we start saying we want to do setup for dev environment. Some pattern is required. Dev environment slash processing service. What is our name? Payment processing service. Let's say we want to do it like this. So what happened? In Secret Manager, if we provide this kind of a name, all the data that we save here, sensitive data, all the sensitive data that we save here, it is very clear that it is for processing service of the dev environment. So in AWS Secret Manager, we need to provide information like this. It will make it environment specific, service specific data. That's it. Okay. And in this now you can keep putting your keys and values, all those things. Fine. Let's start making the changes. So how do we do? First, we go to AWS Secret Manager. Okay, go to AWS Secret Manager. Initially, we are starting with a new secret store. We don't have any secrets. So click on store a new secret. This is how we start. So store a new secret. It's some 4-step process. It's not that complex. Majority we will go ahead with default. Whatever key information required, we can do that. Okay. Generally, here they provide you an option to do very much database specific keys can be kept separately. Amazon RDS database, any other database, let's say you have manual setup, you can set up the keys directly for these guys. Okay. However, if you want key the way you are reflecting inside your property file, okay, all of the data was in one place. You simply want this key and the value to be arranged at one place in secret manager. Rather than choosing this DB specific value, simply go ahead with other type of secret. So that means you can group. If you want, okay, one is open API key. Open API key you would have to set up here only. It doesn't belong into any other category. PayPal client ID has to be set up here only. But database you can still set up somewhere else. Point is, it will start scattering the system. Just imagine in PayPal provider, you have database also and you have these keys also. If you choose this other thing for database, so here you will have separate configuration for database and separate configuration for two configurations. Two times you need to create secret store, which is not a good way of organizing things. Okay? So yes, sometimes project people might do it, but we will keep it more simple. Our approach will be something like this. In secret manager, we will say other type of secret. In that, we will make it environment specific, service specific configuration. That means PayPal processing service of the dev environment, whatever sensitive data is available, we will look here, and all of that key value, we will go to the dev environment of processing service. We will look at all the sensitive data here, and key values, we will put them inside this secret store simply. Key value, key value. You can add n number of things. Okay, for example, let's say dev environment processing service, all the sensitive information, we will put it as other type of secret. Key, you have to look it at your property file. Let's say this one is key. You copy this key here and put it here. Key value for this, you need to put it on the other side. So copy this, make sure spaces are not coming, otherwise system will not work properly. So make it proper, truncated values, exact. So this is a sensitive data for processing service. We have added it here. If more sensitive data is available here, currently we don't have, but just imagine if more sensitive data is there, this username also. What we can do is, even this username, you can take, move here, add row, and just simply say, this is going to be our username. Guys, you need to make sure, very important, whatever is this key name, your Spring Boot Java code needs this exact key name. You have to use the same key name here. Otherwise, your Spring Boot application cannot read something else. For Spring Boot JDBC to read the password, it looks for specific field spring.datasource.password. If you rename this to anything else, it is not going to read this value. It will not connect to the database. So the keys should be exactly the same which application needs to start. Simple, right? Then in the code you write @value annotation with my test key. You look for my test key as the name. You cannot write something whatever. So please be aware, this is really important. Whatever is the key name here, same key name has to be available. Then only Spring Boot will function properly, otherwise not. So please put a note of this. So what is our conclusions? Okay, for environment specific, microservice specific configuration, okay, we choose other type of secret, option, and in that keep adding new rows, key value pairs, keep adding new key value pairs for all, not pairs, pairs for all service specific, environment specific, details. For example, dev environment of PayPal, of payment processing service. That's what it is. So simply choose other type of secret and then keep adding both of these two things here. Okay. Okay, for now, let's try to replace even this part also. We will use both of them. Let's go. Okay. Remaining things are, I think, very much default. Main thing is here and one configuration on the next page. Remaining everything continue with default. So creating a secret store, other type of secret. Okay, you come here. Continue with the default AWS Secret Manager. Click on next. Okay, important here. Okay, how do you want to save this? So for this saving itself, we have defined this name, which makes us clear okay, what we are dealing with here. Environment specific, service specific. So we are saying this configuration in this store is for this purpose. Dev environment of payment processing service. So all the keys and all that you will put there will belong into this guy itself. Okay. Remaining thing again, here you can describe it more key, all the keys and sensitive data of the dev environment for payment processing service is available. 250 character ka description you can put it, so it is easy for others to understand what this secret store holds. Okay, fine. But this naming is also very clear. Okay. Remaining, everything is optional, optional, optional. Just continue. Okay. Optional, optional, continue. All these are also features. Automatic rotation. Generally, again, in IT, there is this standard key database passwords needs to be changed every few months of time. Some projects will have this as a mandatory security measure. So even if passwords go to somebody, but it keeps changing very time to time. So automatic rotation. AWS is saying we will keep doing automatic rotation. So no problem, data will be safe. So if your key needs it, then some things can happen here. Okay. So otherwise manually you have to do. So just these kind of features they have given for that, but everything is optional. So let's just continue with default ones, not utilizing those rotation features and all. Okay. Fine. Go ahead. Next. Review it. Other type of secret. Encryption key is AWS Secret Manager. What is the secret name? Okay, this is our secret name. Very good. And then we continue further. So this is our secret name. It is exactly same as what we have applied here. Okay, let's continue. Rotation is fine. This is okay. Fine. Now guys, what they have done is, interesting. They are suggesting you some code of, if you want to programmatically connect to the secret store and read these data, for that they have given some code files. Okay, nothing but importing some packages, software.amazon aws sdk.regions, and in these packages they gave some Java code. You can write this kind of a code and then just call something like client.get secret value and provide whatever keys you want, secret names. Accordingly, you will get the value and you can do the processing. So means programmatically, if you want to connect to this, you can do that. But guys, don't worry. In Spring System, they have given one module for very easily working with AWS Secret Manager also. So we don't need to write additional this kind of a Java code to read these values and use it in your Spring Boot application. No, for us it is more simple. And they have given even some AWS SDK where the jar file will be coming. You can have this jar file, put it into class path, and then use these libraries. Or you can check whether Maven dependency for this SDK is also available. Look for that, add the POM configuration, this jar will come, and then you can write the code. But we don't need to do that. Spring has given a module to work with Secrets Manager also. So our life is more simple there. But for some Java based projects where Spring is not utilized and you still want to do it, and if their framework has not provided easy way, then you would have to manually write this kind of code. And whenever your service is coming up, it has to first read it and then give it to whatever other bean creations like database and other things, right? So, but don't worry, for us life is simple. Spring is here, so no worries. Okay. So let's go forward. Let's go forward. So we fill up, we review, and we click on store. So just see, we have the data available here. You can click here, and as part of that, okay, you can see the details also available. We moved these two things at this. So step number 1, we are progressing. What is the step number 1? In AWS, we need to set up secret store to store our database password. As part of password, we have also added a username there. Okay, optional but added, so that we can have better testing and visibility. With this name, we have created a store. Okay, this is step number 1 done. Okay, now guys, AWS is having a lot of security measures. What it is doing, just imagine going back to a Paint application. This AWS secret manager is available here somewhere. This is like secret manager. Secrets manager is available here somewhere. It is not running from EC2. So try to visualize it, okay, how the services are. It is somewhere in AWS. Okay? Where somewhere? Again, it is part of our Asia specific location itself. It's part of Asia specific location. Okay? So that means in somewhere data center, Asia specific, Mumbai, they are maintaining this kind of store for us as well. And if you check the naming here, it is saying AP South 1. Means that tells more concrete information about that. In AP South 1, it is lying, and AP South 1 is nothing but Mumbai related location. So that becomes the region where it is available. Okay, fine. Now the thing is, let's come back here. From safety perspective, what AWS is saying is sensitive information means really critical. How we are going to run our code? We will take our processing service, deploy this in EC2, and we are expecting EC2 should connect to this machine for reading sensitive information. And once it reads it, then the Spring Boot application should connect, and then it will get whatever database details, and then it will talk to this database whenever the functionality needs it. That is going to be the process. Processing service, we will deploy it in EC2. When it is coming up, it should read the data from Secrets Manager, and then it will have it in application. Whatever name parameter JDBC template beans will be created. When those beans are created, it knows which database to connect, and then it will establish the connection to this DB. That's how the mechanism is going to be. But there is a but here, which is by default, sensitive information is really secure and safe. And AWS, even when services are trying to talk to each other, they have control what to allow, what not to allow. So by default, this EC2 is not allowed to access this secret manager. Again, safety, because it is sensitive data. So you need to decide, because in your project, you might have many EC2 instances. Should all the EC2 should talk to this service? No, not. Only those which needs it will be having allowed to access that. So how do you take care of these configurations? So for that also, you need to set up some concept of AWS called as IAM role concept. IAM role. Okay. So we need to create some roles, and these roles will allow EC2 to connect to Secrets Manager, and then we will be working with that roles. So guys, understand the next problem. Data is saved. Right now we have saved the username password here. But even if we do whatever required changes and deploy it here, it is not going to work because AWS is not allowing all the EC2s to directly talk to this guy. It is something which we need to do via IAM role configuration. So you're learning another new concept here. And that is where have these things mentioned in your resume. Okay, yes, working with AWS, we are aware of these few services and we know in which case what is required as well. So functional use cases also you can justify during interview time. Okay, fine. Now let's continue back here. Our problem statement here is by default, EC2 is not allowed to connect to destination. EC2 is not allowed to connect to secrets manager. Okay, we need to enable it via setting up IAM role. Okay. Now, how do you check whether you are able to connect or not? There is a command for that. We can check it here, guys. Okay. So already in our document, these all steps for even secret manager creation is available. Okay. So we need to create it like this. What we will do is right now, our name that we have created, secret manager name is this one. Secret store name is this one. So let's use this one everywhere and just have a look here. First, we created a secret store, dev/payment processing service. All the steps that we did, it's there in recording, plus at the same time, you can find all this here also. Other type of secret, and then you can set up the key and the value there, and then configure the name dev- like this, continue with the default for everything, and then store. Yes, you will be able to do. Okay, next, if you want to check whether your EC2 machine can connect to this secret store, you can do that via this command. Okay, so using this command, you can verify whether, check whether EC2 is able to connect with the corresponding secret store, with secret store. What is the command? AWS secrets manager, get secrets value, and then you provide, okay, ID of your secret store, which is this one, and specify in which region it is available. So using this simple command, we will run this command on the EC2 machine, and then we will see whether that machine is able to read the values from the secret store. Okay, let's check it out. Okay, if it is not able to do it, then we need to allow the connection first. If it is already able to do it, then IAM role concept is not required. Okay, if it is already able to do it, IAM role configuration is not required. But if not, then we need to allow it. Let's check it out first of all, how these things are possible. So we will go your first EC2 machine. Okay, connection resets in AWS. If you don't use it for certain time, so we would have to reconnect to the machine. Chalo. Connecting back to the machine. Okay, connected. Sudo su. Run this command. Run this command to see whether you are able to connect to that. Copy, paste, go. Okay. Uncategorized client exception when calling get secret value operation. Okay. From so and so region. The security token included in the request is invalid. Okay. So let's see whether, okay, So somehow it's not allowing the connection. Let's see how exactly, or IAM role setup related things we will try to finalize it properly. Okay, but somehow right now with this ID it is not able to connect. So where can we set up this IAM role and allow this access to happen? Okay, so let's have a look here. We go here. So we need to allow EC2 to connect to secret manager. Let's check it out. We need to go to EC2. Whatever is our EC2, action, security. So guys, we need to launch our EC2 instance. In the EC2 instance, once you are there, action, security, there is something called as modify IAM role. Okay. As part of this modify IAM role, we need to create a new role. Let's create a new role and then we will be assigning that role here. Okay. So first, no IAM role if we do, then basically detach. So it is not going to have any IAM role. So that is going to be the default behavior. For your instance, initially IAM role is not going to be there. So if you see like this, if you go action, security, modify IAM role, by default, you will not have any IAM role defined. Okay. Let me again run this command since we just tried to touch the IAM setting. Okay. It's not able to read it basically. Okay. Now we need to apply IAM role so that EC2 machine can connect to this service. How do we do that? Simple option is here only. Initially, okay, you don't have access. Fine. If you don't have access, they are giving us a new option. Okay, create your own IAM role. So click on this part. Okay. IAM stands for Identity and Access Management. So IAM role, Identity and Access Management. So within AWS, lot of access controls will be there. Which guy can do what operations via IAM configuration. They do management of all these things. Okay. Identity and access management. Here we need to create a new role which allows EC2 to talk to secrets manager. That's it. That's a new role we need to create. How do we do it? Create a role. Okay. Continue with AWS service. Allow AWS services like EC2, Lambda to perform certain actions. So currently we want EC2 as the service, so choose it as AWS service. Which one you want to actually use? AWS is having multiple services. What is our use case? We need to deal with EC2, so we can simply choose EC2. Aim is simple. EC2 needs to connect to secret manager. So here we are simply choosing our AWS service, which is EC2, should connect to other guy. So we will go to the next page for that. EC2 should next. They have created a role for secrets manager. This one. Secret manager read write. Nothing but you are giving an access to EC2 machine to perform read write operations on secrets manager. They have already created some policies and making, like, there are some rules and configurations of these policies. They created some rules and configurations for this policy, okay, and saying, okay, if anybody wants to read and write to secret manager, we can assign this policy to that service. Currently, we want EC2 to do. In future, if somebody else service also wants to do it, that can also be mapped here. So these are the two things. Okay. EC2 should be able to do read write operations on secrets manager. We can directly go forward here. These are built-in policies which are written by AWS team itself. Now, if you want not to give write operation, why is EC2 needing to have a write operation? Only read operation we want to do. Sometimes these kind of requirements will be there. If built-in policies are not available, you can create some custom policies with AWS also. And there you can define secret manager, but only with read capability, and give only that to EC2. So all those things are possible. But for that, yes, some DevOps expertise and some senior developer expertise will be required. As a beginner level, being aware of all these facts, how to work, why to work, and things should be good enough for getting started. 0 to 2 years, even 3 years, 4 years go, people don't much. With 2-3 years, they don't get it. But as you start crossing more experience, start learning these AWS related all things as well. Okay? As you start crossing experience, not from the beginning, not required. Beginning mein basics are enough. Focus more upon core, framework, project. Core expertise level knowledge should be there. Framework mein basic knowledge enough so that you can do the programming. And then with regards to project, have functional knowledge and use all this thing and confidently present during interview time. Okay? Remaining things you can still learn after getting the job. Initially focus on one technology. Java, so start with Java. Don't try to be in Java also, Node also, Python also, front end also, not required. Too much things, you will not have time to practice also, and before interview you will be a mess also. Prepare on one technology very strongly, great level, apply for those jobs and crack those interviews. That's how you work forward. Don't try to do many things together. Okay? Focus will be distracted. Quality knowledge will also not happen, because same 24 hours you are splitting into 5 things. Waste of time basically. You will not become expert person with that. Fine. So we will just assign it here. EC2, we will assign it with secret manager capability. EC2 should be able to read and write to secret manager. AWS created some policies for that. We can simply go ahead with this permission. Okay? So next, continue with the default. Okay, some role name for this. So you're creating a new role, IAM role. So you can give some name for this for identification purpose. You say April 25 CT EC2 to secret manager IAM role. Some name which specifies what you're trying to do here. Okay. And maybe you might have multiple EC2s. On all of the EC2s now you can apply this role, because it is a EC2 to secret manager connection. Okay. Fine. So you take this role. Name I'm copying and just go in, continue with the defaults, do a create role. So guys, this becomes part of our role setup. Just see, our role is visible here in the list which we created just now. Now we need to assign this to, the role is created. We need to assign this role to EC2 so that EC2 can work with secret manager. How do we do that? From the same place where we came. There we can choose now our role, just refresh it. And then from the drop down, paste that name. What we created right now, paste that name and just choose it. So 2 steps. First, you create that role which allows EC2 to work with secret manager. Second thing is you simply assign that role to your EC2 machine, and then let's say update IAM role. Okay. Once updated, let's go back here. Let's see whether, okay, connection is reset. So we can go back here. Sudo su, and then run this command. Just see, it is able to read the data from that place, right? So earlier it was not working, but now it is able to go there and see, okay, at this place we have this kind of sensitive information. Okay, secret key is password, we have saved something, username, we have saved something, right? Username is this, password is this. Now your machine is able to access it. We have reached to that position. EC2 is able to call So currently we are here, this cross mark is gone. And we have allowed this connection to happen as well. Okay, we have allowed this connection to happen. And for making this happen, we have IAM role addition, IAM role setup. Okay, now with that, we are able to connect. Guys, AWS changes are done. Are we clear with this, team? Team, are we clear with this? AWS setup. Okay. Now comes Java setup, then deployment and testing. So still we have some things to be done. Okay. So let's go forward. Let's go forward. AWS changes are taken care. Now application changes, so that our application connects to this and then we go forward. Okay. Things take time. You have to explore, practice. Something might work, might not work. You have to give time. Then you get knowledgeable, right? This is what it is. Okay. Good stuff, everybody. Let's continue. So step number 1 is completed, which is AWS setup to store dev password in secret manager. Whatever we have done right now, it's available in recording, and at the same time in the session notes also you can find those instructions. Here you can even see this IAM role setting, how to manage that, this command which you can run for verification. It's all available here. So IAM role on EC2 instance / action security modify IAM role. Click on create IAM role, new page will come. There you have to choose EC2. There you have to choose this file permission, create next. Again, on this modify IAM role, choose the newly created IAM role, and then from EC2 run this command again, and you will be able to see. So whatever we said here, practically we did, is already available in these notes also. You can take a reference of that plus recording and experiment at your end. Fine. So itna kaam ho gaya. Okay, now comes the next point. Java side application changes. Okay. For that, we can quickly take a reference here. Few things we need to again understand here. Key environment specific changes we are dealing with, right? Service specific, environment specific. That means first thing is we should not need these properties in our system. So it should comment and still system should work. So these two properties should not be there in our system. That is what it is. Remove the sensitive information from the code base. So be careful. Dekho, my recommend, you can delete it, not a problem. But I would suggest not to delete it, because for ease of understanding, you keep the keys. So you know that whatever fields are required for your Spring Boot application for execution, at least the fields you are seeing here, but just replace these values. Say, okay, read from secret manager or load from secret manager. You can simply put it like this. So this helps to easily track what your application is doing. You can delete it, but then it becomes like, why? Don't delete it. It is like not very much readable for application, which fields are really utilized. And when freshers join in the system and then they look at the code and they are like, password username is not there. How, which database we are connecting? But if you put something like this, it is more meaningful and readable. Think about that when you do project development. It should be readable, easy to understand, easy to maintain. New guys, when they are joining the project, they should not have a hard time. Likewise, when you are joining other project, if the previous people have not taken care of this, your life will become a nightmare. So you have to build a system which runs very smoothly in a long run, coding wise, understanding wise, maintenance perspective, ease of everything should be there. So this is the recommended approach for that. Keep the keys there, but in commented state, and just replace the values. Don't have the passwords here. Okay, that is blunder. Delete the passwords, keep like this, and then it should be committed into the Bitbucket or whatever. This should be committed into your Git repositories. Okay, fine. Change number 1 is done. Okay, we removed this, saved. But next comes our question. How will Spring read these two things from that AWS Secret Manager for this dev environment. Now, this is our next major problem to solve. How will our Spring Boot application, okay, which is nothing but payment processing service, read the DB uname and password, when we run our app in dev AWS environment? This is our major question. For this, we need to do certain changes. Okay, zyada nahi hai guys. Spring, that's why we use frameworks. So we don't have to do these things manually. Had we not used a proper framework like Spring, we have to manually now use the AWS provided code, put it, and then on startup, call that, read it, and then do it. A lot of time waste was there. Now it is all gone. Simple two changes you need to do, guys. One, you need to add some POM configurations. Some POM dependency will be there about AWS Secret Manager. Okay. And the second one, in property file, we need to specify which secret store to read from. That's it. Internally, they have taken care of all the rest of the work for you. So as a developer, life is simple. You add only a dependency, add a configuration, and things are taken care for you. Okay, again, you can go to AI, ChatGPT, Google. You will find all these code which you need to put, and you can put that. We have arranged them in a Word document so that we can straightforward apply as well. Okay, what are the changes? Simple change. We just need to add io.aws spring AWS Secret Manager config dependency. Okay, let's put this up. One dependency required like this. So we go to our pom.xml processing service, and then we add this to the dependency section. We have commented Eureka. Just after that, we can put this. So this is Secrets Manager related dependency, AWS Secret Manager related dependency. Internally, all the code will be there for getting things from the AWS perspective. Okay, fine. Changes are done. But we said there are two changes. One is Spring team has written this code in this jar, so we will get it. But we need to tell the Spring libraries, okay, which is our AWS store, right? Where is it residing? Dev/payment processing service. We need to tell that. How we can say is with property file, we need to tell the Spring system. Okay, for that also in our notes, we have given the key for that is spring.config.import, and then we need to use this AWS-secret manager : name of your destination. Okay, let's try to read it and see what happens. Okay, we just provide the information like this. Copy this, go back here. In our, now which place we will add? For the dev environment, we are making changes. So in the dev property file, where we commented or removed this username password, in this file, we need to add this configuration. We simply need to tell these guys, ki, okay, for this dev environment property files, there are some of the properties which are even available in this secret store, which is managed by AWS, and Spring Cloud import. Basically, this field will be read by the POM dependency, and they will go there, and whatever keys are available, they will take it and make it available to the Spring environment when it is starting up, and whatever Spring beans are created, they will read it. So the way local properties, files, keys were available, like that even AWS Secret Manager keys will be available for application during the startup time. For that, we have done these two changes, POM dependency added and this change also required. Let's test it once, then we will make some notes about it. Okay, so we save this, save everything. Okay, everything is saved. Now let's do a build of processing service. You will find some interesting observation now also, so please focus. Changes are only this much, two changes. Okay, so we removed or commented this, we added this, we added this. Now build deployment activity. Okay, now how we can do it? Same process again, right click, run as, build clean package profile-p dev, and then run it. We know that it tries to run test cases. We have that annotation at the rate Spring Boot test, and that has failed. Think about it. Think about it. It's just logical. It has to fail. If it succeeds, then it is confusing how it is successful. When we do a Maven package, it is even trying to run a test class. It is annotated with at the rate Spring Boot test. Because of this annotation, it tries to activate Spring Container. When it is activating Spring Container, it goes to pom.xml, and there it is now trying to read, oh, secret manager is also available. And then it is going to the dev property file, and then it is realizing, okay, I am supposed to connect to this for reading something. While it is trying to do that, just observe here, unable to find the region, and like it's not able to connect to it basically. Okay, from our local machine, it is not able to connect, and that is where we are saying the SDK client exception, your AWS client builder, nothing but while trying to connect to AWS from our local machine, it is not working properly. Okay, because the setup is not there. We have carefully enabled that secret manager should be accessed from EC2 place, not available for publicly access from everywhere. So some kind of exceptions and problems are coming when you try to build the package in your local. Okay, there are ways you can now go to AWS, do some setups and all to allow access from outer places, but that's not a recommended approach. Better don't do that. So because anyways, from local, you don't need to connect to that. You will do it from your local property only. So what could be a small fix here is, when you are building for dev environment and using this, simply skip the test cases. Locally, when you build, it is anyways happening. Okay, so right now what we will do is, when you are trying to build for any environment, clean package -p dev, use this option skip test, so that they don't try to really create these objects and container and everything. Simply skip test and then just go ahead with run. Okay, and let's see how it goes. Okay, build is successful because it did not try to run the test cases. So jar is compiled properly, built properly. Okay, so guys, let's take some conclusions on this one. So what is our observation? We need to apply these changes in the Java application side. So we go here, property file, POM file. Okay, these changes. Next observation. Okay, when building jar, it runs test cases because, okay, and because of @spring boot test, it was available right from the start.spring.io time when we first got the project. Even from that Spring Boot test, okay, because of Spring Boot test, it tries to activate Spring Container, which is trying to create beans and further connect to AWS Secrets Manager for reading the values. Okay, since Secrets Manager is set up to be is currently not allowed for external access. Okay, so we need to skip tests when we build jar file. So please be aware of that. There is a reason for things when things don't work. So try to find that reason and accordingly take a corrective action. After this, we do mvn clean package -p dev, and here you go. This jar file was created properly. Building jar, and yes, this jar is created properly. Okay. In our Mobexterm, already that jar location is there. We can simply do ll date 1303. Just 2 minutes ago, this jar was created. What is our next process? We need to copy this jar there. Okay. One thing I will again show you a different process. Generally, when you are trying to copy your new jar there, it is better to take backup of the previous jar. What if something is wrong with your jar? If you simply override the jar which is lying on the server, it is a problem, right? Your jar is broken, plus you are not even able to stabilize the previous system. So always have the backup. Maybe once your jar is not working and all, you can revert back. From the backup, you can restore. How do you create the backup? It is simple. So before you copy it, before you replace existing jar there, this will be my recommended approach for you. Okay. We will connect here first. Connect back to that machine. Sudo su. In your projects, it will not be required to connect with a sudo su root user, because you will be given your own user to access AWS. Instead of EC2 user, you can log in via your own user, and it will have some designated permissions. So they will not require you to be a full root user. Whoever is managing your infrastructure properly, permissions will be set up for that. Okay? So it will not be required to always be root for doing all activities. Fine. But for now, since we are testing, so let's not get into that networking and configuration information. Okay. How do you create backup? Multiple approaches are there. Simple approach is mkdir bkp folder. Just put it here. Next, what you do is, before you copy the new jar here, you come to this EC2, just prepare a copy of this. Copy payment processing service.jar, and you can just do it here inside .bkp ./bkp/ you can put the same name, put some date 21 May .1, something like that. CP command is for copy purpose. You simply create a backup folder. Inside the backup folder, just create a file like this. So what happens? There is a backup folder, and when you go inside BKP, so you will find this file, and you just name it so that you can identify what it is. Now, then you replace the file which is available there. If there is a problem in your file, you can simply delete that jar file and restore this one back again, and then restart the service again, right? So this is always a better approach. I would highly recommend you guys to do that. What is it? Before deploying new jar, or before replacing jar in EC2, okay, always take backup of previous jar. Okay, so if something goes wrong, you can restore for it. For that purpose, backup is required. Okay, fine. Now, after that, we are going to copy our new file. Command for that is already typed earlier. So we simply take it and copy it. Let's go there. Okay, it is moving. Fine. The jar is copied. We can go to this place, come outside backup, cd space dot dot ll, date 7:38. The time is in UTC. So yes, the jar came at that time. Okay, fine. Next, you want to restart it. So you have to kill the existing service and restart the new one. How do you do that? Control R. It's kind of search from the previous command. ps-ef grep java, enter. Okay, these are the two existing service commands running as a background process. Now we need to kill it. How do we do? Payment processing service we need to kill. This becomes the corresponding process ID. Okay, so accordingly we can kill it. Kill -9 command. This is the name, and then paste it. This is the process ID, and then you are bringing it down. Okay, done. Run this command again. Yes, now it is gone. Clear, paste, gone. Only one service is running. Now we will bring this back up again. How do we build it back? Control R, nohup. Not this command. We need to do other nohup command. Okay, let's go ahead with typing it. History works. Okay, history. If you do history, all the previously typed commands will also be coming. Okay, so we typed history, we got the history. Processing command is this one. So we can copy this from here. Okay, so this is copied, given enter, and then again clear, ll, paste. Let's start it. Okay, tail-f processing service processing.log. Just see, it is trying to read from AWS Secret Manager, guys. Just observe this statement. Loading secrets from AWS Secret Manager with the name dev and payment processing service. And by default, it is not optional. So it has to load it. And it did not give any exception this time. Means from this EC2, maybe it is able to access because service is up properly. Just observe the last statement. Tomcat started. So it was able to read this statement itself. It can say, we specified our profile as dev. So in the dev property file, we had this configuration and we have this log statement. Means yes, during the service startup itself, Spring Boot application tried to connect to this profile and read all the values. And then we created beans, named parameter template beans. As part of that, we were needing username, password. That data was also made available. Now, let's make an API call to test whether this is working end to end. So we go here, give some enters, go back to Postman, recon of this IP, this port, hit. Okay, observe, it is working. No exception at the backend. It properly created DB connection. So it was able to connect. Now that is magic, right? We have not added any DB properties in our database. Still it is able to connect. So yes, it is not coming from this place. How did your Spring application know where is this username, password? It read it based upon these configurations. Using this, it went to that store, read those two values, gave it to our application, and then it was able to further stabilize or establish a connection. and then it made the DB call for recon. We can see recon size is 1, and then this was that transaction, and then accordingly it ran the rest of the logic. So by this way, secret manager needs to be applied for dealing with sensitive data, environment specific, okay, and service specific configurations we can set up. Whichever services will be having your EC2, in that one it should have an IAM role to connect to that. Next, whenever you are doing the deployments in your property files, this change plus POM dependency should be there. When you do this entire combo, data works properly. Okay? So guys, as part of today, RDS and secrets manager and some IAM rules, security groups, these some additional things also we are aware of. Guys, are we clear with this? Okay? If possible, if you can arrange a credit card and you have some courage, yes, you can go ahead with the setup. Important thing is, once your testing is done, without credit card account cannot be created. Okay? With debit card, it does not happen. You need credit card. If you can arrange that and take up some chance, create it. 1 year ka free trial will be there. Okay? And with that free trial, experiment. As soon as your testing is done, delete everything. Okay? So delete everything, and accordingly, VPC also you need to find and delete. So that will be another thing which you can experiment. Okay? So you have to just go here in AWS. It is very much self-explanatory, but you can go here. Apart whatever EC2 you created, RDS you created, simply delete options will be there. Whatever the secret store you created, you can delete that also. Immediately, means same day itself delete it. Don't forget it. If you keep these services up and running, it will start charging money for that. Okay? So you can simply go ahead deleting it. And your important thing, once your everything is done, this VPC, search for VPC and even delete this VPC as well. Okay? So even delete this VPC. Some again options will be there how to do that and everything. So some your VPCs, one VPC is available. Click on that by the end of everything. Then you can choose this, and in the options, some options will be there. Delete VPC. This is also important to delete. Okay? Now, if you go to homepage of AWS for me, generally I use this only for some demonstration testing purpose. Okay? So some minimal charges this that will keep encountering. But if you see our major services, what charges any money if we are doing testing, it is virtual cloud itself, Orange related. Even though you delete all the rest of them, but if you are keeping this virtual cloud VPC, that is going to be charging. And generally, people might forgot to delete it because it comes with the default setup itself. But yeah, delete that one. Other things you will anyways close, not a problem. But again, if you want to do it, go ahead with that. Otherwise, not a problem. Just watch this recording very closely and make a decision accordingly. Okay? So fine, guys. Team, clear with this? It's up to you, your choice, but I'm just telling you pros and cons, possibilities, no possibilities. Okay? Okay, everybody. Chalo, let's take the attendance and we will be completing today's session. But definitely showcase this knowledge in interview. Don't skip it. Try to create that edge. Rest of the people don't have the knowledge, you have it. And then you confidently show during interview. That makes a difference. Why you should be hired more compared to other job seekers, right? To create that edge. Everyday topic was important. Furthermore, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, also important topics are there. Put everything highlighted during interview time. Chalo, guys. Sharing you the attendance. Good stuff, everybody. Let's take the attendance and we will complete today's session. Okay, here we go. Here we are. We go here. Now, once I'm done, so after the session, I will be deleting whatever I have set up today. Okay, so it doesn't keep running. EC2 machine also today morning I have done the setup so that we can have a demonstration today. So that is what it is. If we need these services for some purpose, then we can keep it alive, but only for demonstration. So we can just manage it like this. Internally, we can have it through. Okay, attendance for today. Here we are. Copy, Guys, again, reminder for you guys, please complete your demos. Don't wait for last moment. I think you guys are from the final sincere group related category. So I'm assuming most of you would have completed your demos, because yes, there are around 50 people who have made some more demos compared to the rest. So I guess most of you will have done it, but still 7171. If you are pending with demos, please complete it. Okay. And all the guys, later you guys will be watching recordings, so please complete the demos. It's very important. Okay. It will give you practical knowledge exposure, plus for completion letter, that practical knowledge is a proof that yes, you know something, so that we can issue the completion letter accordingly. Okay. Chalo. Thank you guys. Stopping the recordings, and then we will discontinue the call and see you tomorrow. Unit testing discussions will happen tomorrow. Not just unit testing, it is a combination of three: unit testing, mocking, code coverage. Three aspects we need to discuss in tomorrow's session. And then Friday, we will be discussing about this Redis one functional use case will be there. And logging, we will try to adjust it somewhere. Okay. Chalo guys, stopping the recordings. Okay, stop recording. Stop stream and stop this.